Hey everyone, welcome back to Old World Legends, where we focus on growing the community. I'm your host, Mike. With me, as always, is Evan.
Are you marching into battle, Mike?
Oh, man, these never get worse. So yes, Battle March. That is clearly GW's latest effort in Old World. What we believe is clearly focused on making it easier for new players to get into Old World. And it might not be the thing that I'm personally focused on, but I still think this is great for the hobby and for the community. What do you think, Evan?
I mean, I think a lot of people are looking to get into old world, but want a combat patrol esque box that, for example, has multiple different types of units, has characters, and is kind of focused around the idea that it's a roughly equivalent box to the other armies, and then you could just put this one box together and play. I mean, Warhammer has played with the idea that it's going to have a Settlers of Catan type mode where you just have this one box, you rake open this one box, and then you're already playing the game for a long time. I mean, that's what Battle for Skull Pass, was, or Battle for Macragge. That was the thing that got me into Warhammer in general. Was this one box that had 11 Space Marines and 12 Tyranids in it, and you just put this one box together, and then guess what? You're playing the game. And this is what Battle March is all about. It's about having one box to play. And one of the things that I've noticed a lot about these releases we're going to go into is they put all of their newest plastic models in here. These are the newer kits. You know what's funny, Mike? This Beast Lord right here, this guy is an Age of Sigmar model. He was released during the Beastmen Age of Sigmar times, and now he is an Old World model. Isn't that cute? We've
Never
stolen
heard
him.
of it. Never heard of that game. No. But wait a second, Evan. They already had boxes for Old World before. They had the battalion boxes. So if you're watching this and you're a little confused and you saw the battalion boxes before and now there's Battle March boxes, like what's the difference? Why not just use what they had before? And can you even get the battalion boxes anymore?
Well, most of the battalion boxes are gone from the web store, but they're definitely going to be sitting at hobby shops and things like that because guess what? They're like 160, like $200 in the U.S. Like these aren't necessarily going to just fly off the shelves. Those battalion boxes. But guess what? Battalion box that came out with Old World for each of the armies has 0 characters in it. It's just a lot of infantry, a lot of troops, and a lot of core units, or sometimes it's like a box of 2 chariots. So it was essentially 3 different regiment boxes taped together and put into a big box. That's what the old battalion boxes were. Now that was great for getting into the game and trying to build a 2,000 point army from scratch and having that as an entry point. In some cases, I think that a lot of people didn't like the High Elf one because they don't like the derpy spearmen and the derpy archers. I love the derpy archers. Okay, I freaking love the guys wearing pajamas. It was awesome. I painted like 60 of those in the past 2 years. Um, but anyway, people want newer plastic and people want characters. Because do you have any idea, Mike, how many Reddit posts or how many Discord posts on our channel have said, "Hey, I'm thinking of getting into Old World. I'm gonna pick up the Warriors of Chaos Battalion box. How do I make an army out of it?" Well, the first thing you
Oh,
tell
I
them is, "Well,
say
guess what? You don't have a character. You don't have any characters to get, and you have to have
yeah,
those. So what
I
are you gonna
say
do?"
we get that at least once a week, honestly, on
Yeah,
Discord.
once a week. Yeah.
Typically people who find us on the our YouTube channel and then join the Discord and get involved in the community, and it's constantly people who are exactly what we want, trying to grow the community, get into the game, and we want to help them, and that is a very common question.
Right. But guess what? The battalion boxes were not good for that at all. Like you're
They
talking
weren't
about
really
telling a
designed for it.
brand
They
new
really
player.
were. Here's the stuff we had, and let's package it. Now, monetarily, they were a great deal in terms of dollar for plastic. They were a great deal, but they weren't a great entry point, and they weren't optimized, and they weren't like I'm going to crack open this box and you crack open a box, and we're going to both have roughly the same equivalent armies. They were like the points disparity in them was pretty huge in some of the boxes.
Definitely, yeah. Like the Orcs and Goblins box was like 500 points, and the Dwarf box was like 900 points. Like they varied quite a bit.
Yeah.
But these boxes are different, and I think they're a much better place to be. And guess what? They're also a pretty big deal. The Games Workshop is making beginner boxes for a game that's not called Warhammer 40K or Warhammer Age of Sigmar. That is a big deal. That there is a start collecting, brand new, get into this army with a army in a box for this game. That's
Yeah, you know what that really means? You know what that really means, Evan? This means they are investing in the old world, that they see the potential for this game to grow and grow and grow for years to come. And they are investing in building the community and onboarding new players into this system. That is what this is. This is actually a really big statement from GW in their belief in the future of Old World, which was not true 2.5 years ago, was it?
No, no, I think that it's very clear that Old World started off as a passion project from some of the people at Games Workshop, but very limited budget and almost on the order of, okay, we're going to do some made to order stuff from the olden days and just see what happens. But I think it sold well enough. And by the way, guess what? They made a lot of kits. Like there's still plenty of old world kits sitting on the shelves at hobby stores. Um, Particularly certain units or certain models that are old are just not necessarily selling as well. But I think that they've seen there's interest in the community to buy these boxes if you bring out high quality, modern enough kits that people do want that. And then people are going to not buy that many of the old ass skeleton, Tomb King skeletons, for example, but they're going to buy a lot of the, Empire State Troops or the Flagellants. These guys are new enough that they don't seem kind of embarrassed or they don't kind of mismatch the scale of the old stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then we've got
People,
we got 5 boxes revealed so far. Now we've seen the leak. One of the times we had another video, we talked about the leak of the Tomb King box that we are assuming is going to come out. And but what we do know is that these are more around that like 700 point range, and they all carry at least one character, so that you don't have to convert a character or break a unit apart to make a character. Because guess what? The last thing a brand new player wants to do is be told, go convert something. Like they're gonna be like, what? Where's the instruction manual? Oh, you don't have one. Go convert it. That is not a new player friendly thing to tell people to do. So giving them a way to just have an army in a box that already has a character in it, great. It does not matter one bit whether it's competitive. It matters way more whether the plastic is new and will last a long time and not be replaced right away. Right?
mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's also great for these kits because again, this is the same pattern we've seen in Age of Sigmar. This is the same pattern we've seen in 40K. That this actually is a very effective method to ramp new players into the gaming system, to ease them into it before they get into build their 2,000 point force, and supporting it with a whole rule set, not just models that are well constructed, but rule sets and some balance updates and actually some new magic items and things specifically for this rule set. I don't think, I don't believe there's going to be like a whole new league and division of people who just play Old World with Battle Marks, but maybe I'm wrong. And maybe people will, but I definitely think this is a great way for just two friends or somebody who just says, I want to just get into this hobby. Here's the army I'm excited about. Grab it off the shelf, put it together, and you're ready to go to start playing a balanced enough game with anybody else with any other army. And I think that's fantastic on a smaller table with less terrain. That's what I do when I teach people the game anyway. I don't actually start with 2,000 point versus 2,000 point because I've taught over the last 2.5 years at least like I think 30 different people how to play the game at my house or at the store at different times to onboard people into the system. And I typically start with about 500 to 600 points because and we typically start with about a board that's typically about 1/3 the size of a normal board. And that's typically where I start because that works really well. I've done this many, many times.
Yeah, and Battle March is essentially just a systematized way to scale the rules down, and in particular, they kind of mention several things you're kind of not gonna do. Um, in terms of taking characters that use up too many points or taking monsters that are too powerful. There are certain limitations in here that are ideal for playing those smaller scale games. Now, I think that we may have a long way to go with that, but for very new players, this could be a great system. One thing I'll notice is in all of these pictures, none of the skirmishers are ranked up in skirmish formation. They're all ranked up like ranked up units. Even the Shadow Warriors are ranked up. I wonder, and again, I don't know if we've had this confirmed, but I wonder if Games Workshop is moving towards the idea that maybe we just won't do skirmish in the future because we could just have open order and allow open order to like pivot more freely and then just it can solve a lot of problems because skirmish was one of the biggest bugbears of how the hell does this work, and you're just every single game you play it you'll have another situation come up of I don't know what to do. And so if potentially you get rid of it for Battle March, because it would be so powerful in a really small style, small scale game that maybe you just shouldn't have that, right? And that's something that I've seen in the artwork, and I don't know if that's going to be reflected in the rules. But why don't we go through the individual boxes here and talk about them, right? So
Yeah,
Empire's
let's
up
dive in.
first. Yeah, Empire's up first with 100 infantry. Oh boy, that's a starter box. 100 soldiers? Or am I wrong? Or is it 50? Wait, no, it's 50. I'm sorry. I was thinking it was 100 for some reason. That's embarrassing. Okay, I can count.
Yeah.
I promise. All right.
Math, that's the thing.
But it is 50 is. I don't know if you've looked at any combat patrol boxes lately, Mike, but like they top out at like 23. Like this is more than twice the kind of models you're getting in a starter box for many of the other flagship games. You're getting like 56 models in this one, and I think it looks great. I think Empire is an army that is supposed to have a lot of troops on the table. It's supposed to have more ranked up units, even though they cost more than a goblin in terms of points. Um, Flagellants, I think, are a great kit. I built 30 of them recently. In a small points game where you don't have a battle standard bearer and stuff like that, having an unbreakable unit can be awesome. They can do a lot of damage when they make that charge. And in early games, when you're just trying to practice, flanking and things like that, things like having a flail and having that flanking maneuver where you do a bunch of damage can be lots of fun. You have a multi kit for Outriders and Pistoliers. You have those as great options and lots of extra bits there to make use of. And these are very new and nice kits. I just did a bunch of Pistoliers recently. Got the Archers. I really like the Archer kit. It's another newer plastic kit, and they're great. And I don't think I play a single game of Empire where I don't bring 10 Archers. So that's awesome. The handgunners and crossbowmen are not necessarily like amazing, but to be honest, like a detachment of anything is good in a small scale game because you want to be able to make those flank charges. You want to be able to have supporting fire. So using them as detachments that shoot and can just charge if you feel like it can always be fun. And then you have the regular old straight troops. So that's awesome. I would think the only thing that's a downside for me is you only have the one character. But one thing you'll notice is that everything in these boxes is plastic. So I don't know what other characters they would necessarily have thrown in here. Like they couldn't throw in the resin wizards. The plastic Empire wizards are still like a present kit in Age of Sigmar, so they couldn't double them up here.
Right.
The warrior priests are metal. Like I don't know what else would you put in here, right?
No, I mean I think it's a really good kit. Honestly, it's a really good combo.
Yeah, there aren't necessarily a lot of options because, like I'm pointing out, you would either have to put a metal character in here, something that's supposed to be an Age of Sigmar, or you could have the Empire character who's on a horse, and then he would have no unit to join. So this is pretty much the only real great option for you. But on the other hand, you have so many troops, and it just feels like you have this big rank and file of guys to go and do some damage there, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would give this one for a starter set for Empire, like I don't know, like an 8 out of 10, because, for example, if they threw the Empire Knights in here, there's certainly a lot of demand for brand new replacement Empire Knights. So if they are thinking about doing that in the next 2 or 3 years, they don't want to put those in the starter box. Guess what? They're not in the starter box. So that tells me that they're potentially sculpting brand new Empire Knights right now. Everything that's not in this box is getting replaced in the next 5 to 10 years at the absolute latest. That's what I would say. If you're seeing units that aren't in these boxes, they're probably going to get new kits eventually. Edition 2, edition 3, right? Okay, so Beastmen Brayherds was another one that was revealed. I bought several of the Age of Sigmar starter sets that had, Bestigors, Gors, and Ungors, and had one of these wizards in it, and then it also had a Gorgon or something, or Minotaur. So anyway, I bought several of those. This is just that, but more. So we have the Ungors and the Gors, which gives you the ability to run the Wild Herd, which is one of the more common ways to play the army right now. You've got Ungor, for archers. You have a bit of a ranged unit. You've got Gors that can either have the shields or the double axes. So that gives you kind of some variety of ways to build here. In the core rules, those guys have skirmish, which gives you a lot of options for roaming around. But another example is they're all ranked up here. So essentially, that's an indication that maybe in Battle March at the very least, we want people not to be doing skirmish mode, right? And I think that would make it simpler.
Maybe. I
Now,
don't know. Hard to say.
yeah, we have Bestigors, which are probably my favorite Gors. Definitely my favorite Beastman unit, and they're one I want to put on the table the most. Particularly because they wear pants, right? Uncommon thing.
Mm-hmm.
They have I like that they have armor. Okay, even though heavy armor is kind of a joke. Here's my 5-up save. No,
Better
but I
than
love
nothing.
these guys. But these are new models. These are new plastic kits that don't need to be replaced. And we have our Age of Sigmar Beastmen, Beast Lord in here, and a Wizard. So this is a great starter. I would say this is the best one. This is a 10 out of 10. All right. Is there anything that I mean, the War Dogs, you don't always use them because you have Razor Gors potentially, but War Dogs are good. Then you have Bestigors, who, I mean, when you have a Beast Lord and he's your general, you could take them as a core unit, so that's great. Otherwise, they can just be a stubborn infantry unit with a lot of damage potential. I like them. I like them a lot, and I think this is
Yep.
an almost must buy for any Beastmen starting out. Like, why would you
Good
start with
list.
anything
Great
else?
models.
Yeah. Okay, Mike.
Mm.
The orcs are here, and guess what? So if you go off my supposition that anything in these boxes is not going to get replaced anytime soon, how do you feel about the orc boys being in here?
Well, yeah, or even the Boar Boys. Listen, I love. I've been
I
playing the
love
Orcs and
these.
Goblins for over a year now, and they are the best. Of course they are. But I gotta admit, I don't use these old models. I'm either using the Night Goblin models or the Age of Sigmar models. Um, some people love these old models, and they have a place in their heart for them and such, and that's great. And such for me, these models don't do it for me. But the reality is it's the Orcs and Goblins army. It's not the Night Goblin army, even though technically the
Yeah.
rules in this edition, they made the Night Goblins so good that there's no reason to take Orcs except you want to just put them on the table because they made Night Goblins so good. That's a different conversation for we've had multiple times. So in terms of having Orcs representing the Orc army, these are the old models, and in my opinion, boy, they sure don't hold up the test of time as well as some of the other models do. But do I think
Yeah.
they're going to replace these anytime soon? No, I do not, because going back and refreshing the model ranges is going to take, look at for 40K, it takes like 3 or 4 editions. It takes like a decade to do that. So it's could be quite some time before we see these models refreshed.
To be clear, the gorilla orc where they have the butts that stick out, freaking love it. Okay, I bought like 40 of these dudes to convert for 40K because I only play orcs and 40K. I don't play them in fantasy. But look, I love these guys. They're epic. All right. I think the kits are super amazing and they hold up incredibly well. And I incredibly disagree with you. Like, I really want to build
That's
one of these little
okay.
banner guys to make a
I'm
banner
sure
dude.
there are other people who love these models too, and it's
Yeah.
just a good thing players do, pick their favorite things, and some players are going to love these.
I love the boar boys. I think the chariot needs new boars to put. Like, these are old. Like, okay, these boars, they're old. All right. But I love this stuff here. Um, and I think that if you compare this stuff to the Empire Knights being midgets, all right, like being super tiny, like they're like 3 feet tall. And I mean, I love them, but they are so small. And then you've got like, other armies that potentially like this Tomb King skeletons and Skeleton Horsemen, Mike. They're 1990 something is printed on their sprues. Those guys need
Yep.
fixes. And guess what? Every single orc player that gets out there and buys tons of night goblins is telling Games Workshop no one's buying orcs. So why refresh them? No one's buying them, right? So again, I think that they're not necessarily the army that I would put in first in line. However, I also would not have put Chaos Warriors first in line to getting a refresh because I thought the Chaos Warrior kit, from 2004 or whatever, was great. I didn't think there was anything wrong with
Well,
it, but they
remember,
did a new
it's
one
it's
for
all
that.
relative to
Yeah,
multiple factors, right? Part of the factors are clearly they wanted to give each army at least something this edition, but remember, they
sure.
planned that when they didn't know how successful Old World was going to be. And Old World is way more successful than they planned it to be, but they had to be very conservative, right? And then in terms of they clearly wanted to and I get in terms of model for model how well the old Chaos Warriors have aged versus the new ones. The old ones aged actually fairly well. I do think the new ones are fantastic, but I think that was more of I do believe that's more of hey, we have chaos in Old World, and Age of Sigmar has chaos in Age of Sigmar. And they went one visual direction with their game, and we want to make a statement that Old World is its own unique and distinct visual aesthetic direction. Therefore, it made a lot of sense from that standpoint to make the Old World team to make a statement our old world is different than Age of Sigmar. We are our own thing. We are different than that game. And even when an army exists in both universes, they're going to look different. So, and also Chaos is also one of the most popular factions that in any of World Games Workshop's games. So it also made sense from a sales standpoint to pick that.
Yeah, they're
Now I'm
absolutely the kind of
speculating here.
Space
I don't
Marines
have
of
any
fantasy,
insider
right?
trading, but that's what I believe.
Yeah, and it makes sense for them to be a beginner faction because they're focusing on Cathay with their brand new plastic. So they wanted to have some bad guy. They didn't want to have it be Cathay versus High Elves or Cathay versus Empire. They wanted some bad guy for them to fight. And Chaos makes sense because Cathay is in the north. It's in the east, but it has a northern border with Chaos. So there should be Chaos forces fighting against them. I mean, it's that or
Well, even just
ogres,
a sales
right?
standpoint, Chaos outsells Orcs, in all their games. Chaos is obviously a big seller for them.
Yeah. I gotta say though, one of the things I absolutely freaking love about the old world team is they paint the orcs the right skin color. This is my green that I love right here. I love this green. The 40k orcs, they paint them like snot colored. Paint them like yellow. And I'm like, bro, what? Like they're trying to make them too hyper realistic. I really like a Hulk orc where they're like neon green. Freaking love it.
Yep.
Awesome.
To each their own, up to the player.
So I think this is a great box. Mike would not touch this with a 20-foot pole, even though, dude, this Battle Standard Bearer alone, freaking epic, dude. I love it. And there are people out there, Mike, they don't want to play goblins. They're going to buy this army book. They're going to buy that codex. I mean, it's a Ravening Hordes. They're going to buy it, and they're like, I want to put orcs on the table. I don't want to put goblins on the table.
Yeah.
So I'm not
Well,
going to play
again, an
night
entry
goblins. I'm
level
going to play,
player, they're not going to
yeah.
know that Night Goblins have the best rules in this edition. They're just going to say Orcs and Goblins, well, Orcs are awesome. I want to play Orcs. That's going to be their thought process.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? This is also a really well-rounded army. You've got some infantry, you've got a chariot, you've got some cavalry character. Oh, this one also has 3 characters. You've got a wizard, right? You have a BSB who can go on foot and join these guys, and then you have the mounted guy. So you've got a lot of character options as well. And then if you pick up a single box of troops, whether it's night goblins or whether it's more wolf riders, you immediately have a pretty large force because you already have 3 characters here. Like compare that to Empire, where they had lots of troops, but they didn't have a lot of characters at all.
Yep. All right, moving on.
All right, so High Elves is an interesting one because a lot of the High Elf core is old as hell. I mean, really old. And these brand new Illyrian Reavers that they came out with are gorgeous. I spent like a week. Okay, it sounds like not a lot of time when I say I spent a week painting them. I spent like 60 hours painting the Illyrian Reaver box that I got.
Well, but everything
They're
in this
gorgeous.
kit is on the newer side of fantasy models. The character, even the Sea Guard, the Reavers, the Shadow, and the Sky Cutter. The only thing that's an older model there is the Chariot.
Yeah, however, I will say I love these chariots. I think they're great. They don't need to go anywhere. The only thing that's very old about them, I would say, Mike, is that the unhelmeted heads of these guys, they definitely have that like 80s power metal vibe of
Yep.
so Mike, there's lots of old artwork of high elves where they're casting spells and they're doing the like rocker, finger gesture like this, and they're like shooting spells
Yep.
like this, and it's like I googled it. I was like, why do they do that? And it's like, oh, it's like a rock and roll reference from the '80s. Like, really? That's what they're doing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and
Oh,
it's
tons of
it's
stuff was
funny.
from a hairband. 80 hairband was all over
Yeah,
GW models for forever.
yeah,
But either way, this is still a beautiful kit. And I think it's fantastic. It's super. I think it's a really great Battle March kit too.
yeah. Shadow Warriors are one of my favorite high elf kits that they have right now. I know. Look, everyone in their universe is going to say, "Well, just build them with Sisters of Avalon. Sisters of Avalon are way better." Shadow Warriors have a great place on the tabletop. They're a very good unit in certain ways. Okay. Um, Sisters of Avalon have Armor Bane and magical attacks, but they can't flee from charges, and they don't have feigned flight. So you know what? They are poop. I love Sisters of Avalon as well, but I really don't like how much the Shadow Warriors get dunked on. And then out of the core units, you don't have a lot of great options. I mean, look, I love the archers. Most people think that a kit that was made in 2002, 2001 is too old, so they're not going to put in this box. They put in the Spearmen from 2008. and the Sea Guard. I just painted so many of these. Yeah, they're very static the way they look, but when you have a full regiment of them, it looks very nice to have a regiment of guys with just spears upright, the bow behind them, and they're versatile. They're spearmen, but they have bows
They're
too,
great models.
right? And then you have a chariot. You can either build it as the lion chariot or the Tyranic chariot.
Horse
Now,
chariot.
I wish
Yep.
I wish the Tyranic chariot was a core unit because I think it's a great stat profile for its T4 with 3 wounds and it has like swift stride. It doesn't have AP2 impact hits, but it does have D6, which the Tomb King's chariots do not. So the big difference here is that this chariot actually has a good threat in damage output,
Yeah.
whereas the Tomb King
It's a
chariot
medium
doesn't.
chariot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So gorgeous new models. And then the Skycutter kit came with the option to put a character on it. So one of the other things you get with this is you could put the character on the Skycutter, which I kind of think that if you're going to buy this kit and immediately play it, that's exactly what you should do. Because guess what? How High Elves work right now is you stick a character on a mount of some kind, So do that, I guess. Characters can go on Tyrannic chariots, but I don't. It's not quite as commonly seen, and I think the Sea Guard
And
chariot
we haven't seen the
is.
full Battle March rules, so we need more
Yeah.
information.
Well, I mean, it's a good point. I don't know. Can you even stick a noble on a Skycutter chariot with the number of points you're allowed to
We
have?
don't
I
know.
don't know.
We
Yeah,
need
I don't
we
know.
need the rules.
Yeah, but these are all newer boxes or newer models here, and you know what? It wouldn't even be a bad idea for a high elf player to buy 2 of these because you could have multiple units of reavers, you can have 2 different kinds of chariots, you can combine the Sea Guard together, then you have
It's a great
little
kit.
units of yeah. So great. I would say that one's maybe like a 9 out of 10, maybe better than the Empire one. So far we're doing great. We have lots of new plastic. We have good balanced armies. I mean, what is there to lose? And guess what? The Wood Elves are last because Wood Elves finished last. This one is
They've gotten a lot of buffs recently. We'll see what happens.
Well, what I mean, Mike, is they finished last in terms of model selection because one of the things you said is all the armies are getting support. Wood Elves didn't really get any new plastic, like at
True,
all.
but they're also one of the newest ranges out of all the
That's
ranges.
true. That's also true. Yeah.
I mean, these models to me are all gorgeous and all hold up, and they look just as good as some of the more modern stuff. I mean, if you do close scrutiny, yeah, there's some discrepancies there, but I love these models.
I love the archers. They are shorter than a lot of the other kits, but one of the things that really helps is they're always like they're leaning back and firing like they're firing up in a high arc, and it really gives them that feel of being larger than they really are. And then the Eternal Guard and they can also be built as Wildwood Rangers, by the way. Which look, everyone's going to say Eternal Guard are terrible. Don't play them. Just buy the Wildwood Rangers. For your first box, go ahead. I have 20 Eternal Guard and 20 Wildwood Rangers, so I obviously fell for it and went
The
for
meta's
those.
always changing. You never know what the future's going to bring.
Yeah. And then we have the option to either build Wild Riders, right, or Sisters of Thorn. Either way, awesome. These are very brand new, kind of deer riding cavalry, and they just look fantastic.
Super cool.
I painted a bunch of these the Glade Riders here. I love these models. Now, one thing you want to do is don't just glue the horses together. They have an A and a B, and there's 2 sets, right? You don't want to just glue, set number 1 AB together, set number 2 AB together, because then you'll have 6 identical horses of one kind, 6 identical of the other kind. If you just mix and match, you get much more variety, and they do just mix and match perfectly on the 2 sides.
Yep.
So yeah. And then guess what, Mike? I thought it was so funny. Eroloth, a named characters in this box. Why is that?
Yep.
It's because there's no other plastic Wood Elf characters. They're all metal.
They are, right? or resin, but that model is so cool. It's fine. Just use them as an Wood Elf Lord. It's fine. Super cool.
Yeah. And my window went away.
Cool.
Anyway. But yeah, hey, if you're getting into Old World for the first time, Battle March is a great way to do it. I think it's awesome. I think most of these boxes are fantastic. I think I mean, the Wood Elf box is great. There's nothing wrong with that Wood Elf box. I think that I just think it's funny they had to stick Eroloth in there because there's no other options. But you know what? That means we're gonna get new.
I agree.
Hopefully, what new characters and what I think War Dancers. All right, come out with a dual kit that's like War Dancers and a new unit that's like a dual kit with them. Fantastic. Do that. That would be epic.
They just need
And then
time. They will.
yeah. But one thing I also say though is that look, the metal sculpts for the wood elf characters are some of my favorite metal sculpts of all time. The spell singers, gorgeous. I painted because there was a set of 4 of them or 5 of them, and I painted one to match each of the 4 seasons. So I had a summer, winter, autumn, and fall, fall and winter of the whatever season I forgot, spring, and
Either
I
way.
painted one for each season. Yeah.
So we did it. That's it. So again, I'm really excited about Battle March. I think they've done a fantastic job so far. Yeah, we haven't seen the rules yet, but I'm pretty confident they're going to be fine and not that different from the core rules of the game. But the kits they put together, the boxes are great, and I'm more in particular really excited because this means they're investing in Old World. They're investing in bringing players into the system. Get that off your window. Get out of there. Anyway, so Evan, last thoughts on Battle March.
Well, I was just going to point out that there are 2 that we didn't talk about, which is the Warriors of Chaos and the Cathay one, because they also have Battle March boxes, but they're basically just the mirrors of what came out in the original starter set, because the original starter set has kind of the Chaos and the Cathay fighting each other, and that's what we're going to see in the Battle March boxes, and those ones are also absolutely fantastic and brand new plastic, and that's what we want to see, because we don't want to tell people, hey, you want to get into playing Old World, buy 3 different kinds of plastic, buy a pin vise, buy green stuff. Here's how you have to deal with your metal kits. No, we don't want to tell them that, right? We want to tell them it's all the same material.
Yep,
That's a
just
great way
pick
to
an
get
army,
started.
grab your box, and off you go.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. So again, if you got this far, please do like, share, subscribe, and please do consider supporting us on Patreon. Evan, last thoughts, sir.
Just they gotta stay legendary.
See you next time.